well. And despite having to restart all of my tabs 8 minutes ago, we're on time today. How about that? Welcome, everybody, to the channel. My name is Margaret Pennard. I'm a historical fiction and fantasy author, and you're on Booktube. So it is a Wednesday, and it is a wrap-up Wednesday here on the channel. So I'm calling it a walloping Wednesday wrap-up. I'm not sure it's appropriate or not. I mean, I think there's 9 here. Got my notes, and I've got my stack. Woohoo! So this is like 3 weeks worth, I think. There's definitely ups and downs, right? So I had 2 weeks in September where I didn't read anything, and then I'm back on my fill in the blank if you would like to. We've got historical fiction here. We've got nature memoir. We've got mysteries. We've got climate fiction. We've got sociology. So if that is your bag and you're just dropping in, please subscribe to the channel and tell me if any of these books are on your lists, because that would be great. We can talk about them. And I've got a question of the day today because I've got some happy developments. So I thought I'd ask for your guys' happy developments this week. And I'll just say hello to the chat. My favorite people are here. Eva is here and Catpot is here. So I sprung out the champagne. Why not? And we have Julie Hughes. Hello, friends. And Alan's Reads. Good evening, Alan, out there in the evening future world. So prompt. Thank you. Thank you. Anita, AF Stewart. Hello, hello. So welcome, everybody, and I hope you're having a good Wednesday so far. Like I said, I just had to restart mine. The StreamYard banners wouldn't take any characters, and I was like, is this my keyboard? Is this my computer? And I just said, I'm just going to restart it. I've got 8 minutes. It should be okay. Yeah. So October 22nd, I'm loving the October feelings. It's a very Anne of Green Gables type month. The weather is cooperating. It's been beautiful. If you're on TikTok and you follow me there, I put a few beautiful pictures up yesterday. Just gorgeous fall foliage and I don't know, just happy thoughts. So that's one of the happy developments, is going on walks and such. All right, so that's all the small talk. I'm going to dive into the books. Oh, hello, Greg. Once again to stately Pennard Manor, where Ellen and I have returned because it's Wednesday. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to start, and I'm going to put the banners up so that it is easy to find the places for the books that I'm discussing as I go through them. All right, so first one. The first one in time order I read is The Rose Garden by Susanna Kearsley. She is one of my favorite authors, comfort authors, have met in person, have gotten signed books, have gone to conventions with, just has been on my channel. If you don't know Susanna Kearsley, I would say you will probably like her books if you like Kate Morton and if you like Diana Gabaldon. She's a Canadian author, so CanLit, go, go, go. And she does really great research into history, especially the Jacobite early rising, so 1715 and before. So not the same stuff that Diana Gabaldon does. And she layers it in with contemporary storylines. So they're often dual timelines, and they have people who slip back and forth. So if you like time travel, Catpaw, I think you would definitely like a Susanna Kearsley story, and hopefully some others of you would as well. The Rose Garden is, this is one of the books I picked up in Canada. I found a great, do not try Gemini, get out of my face. Thank you, Chrome. I picked this up in Canada because there was a whole bunch of Susanna Kearsley books at one of the used bookstores, and I was so delighted to find it, but I only took home 2, so I was very proud of myself because I can't get a lot of these here. Yes, similar to Kate Morton in plot and action, but I just found characters really sympathetically drawn. And I will say the hero in this is not very defined. It's more of an idea. So if you're looking for like lots of steamy action, this is not it. But it's more of like the romance of the person who understands you rather than actually going through the nitty-gritty of the understanding, if that makes sense. So anyway, Happy Ever After. It's a historical romance, dual timeline romance. So 5 stars. I said comfort, pirates, time travel, hero a bit one-dimensional. So that was another way of saying the same thing. But those are my words to describe. These are my notes, so I'm just going to make sure that I didn't forget anything with the like words to carry me back. All right, so next one I read was The Draw of the Sea, and I'm going to pronounce that Wool Menmure. Anyone else know how to pronounce that better? Let me know. Wool. So this is a environmental writer, essayist in the UK. He has spent a lot of his life in Cornwall. So he's writing a book about people's relationship to the sea and the many different activities. And I just loved the cover for this. So I'm a sucker for a nature memoir, and it's a beautiful cover. So Ven, if you see this in a shop, I recommend it. So my notes for this one. Oh, see, I need to keep track here. The Draw of the Sea. We're on the second book. Calming nature memoir, sea creatures, rationality. Okay, so there's different pieces, right? So he talks about the different things that humans do in the water. They go wrecking, looking for treasures. They go diving. They go surfing. There's all these different things that humans do in the water. And then there's also just like the sea as it is near a shoreline. So he talks about tide pools and observing things and things like that. And then why did I put rationality? Rationality. I'm not sure. I only wrote this a few days ago, 3 days ago. Rationality. Maybe it's because a lot of nature memoirs can lean very subjective, and he is very much a take all viewpoints, perspectives, distance, while also being a very warm writer. So if you're worried about that aspect, I would definitely recommend it. I think that's like a 4-star book. And then I have one of my audiobook listens. So on the thumbnail, this is the one that's square because audiobook covers are square, and I could get all mine at Libro.fm because they are the sweetest smelling audiobook purveyor in the world, meaning they don't engage in terrible business practices and kill the earth. We've got Knave of Diamonds by Laurie R. King, and I have here as a representative sample the first book in the series. Laurie R. King is another favorite author, and I went back and read The Beekeeper's Apprentice, sort of skimming it just to remind myself, because the Knave of Diamonds is like the 15th in the series. Like, it's a long running one and it's wonderful. So Laurie R. King, what would I say? Who would like this? She is I think a California writer. She's California based now. I don't know if that's where she grew up. And she has a few different series, a couple standalones recently, because I think she probably got bored of doing the same series. But she is great at the wittiness. She's great at the historical voice. She sets these in the 1920s, and there's a little bit of backstory and then a lot of backstory later in the series, and it's very satisfying. Knave of Diamonds is, well, I'll tell you the premise of the whole series is that Mary Russell is a young misfit, half Brit, half American, and she runs into Sherlock Holmes in the Sussex Downs, and they recognize the intellect in each other and become friends. And then eventually they get married, even though they're like 40 years apart, something like this. It's a little silly, but if you take that as granted, they get into a lot of scrapes. They do a lot of amazing deductive work. A lot of it is going to different countries and inveigling themselves into different conflicts, which is really illuminating. And after Beekeeper's Apprentice, in which a lot happens, by the way, the first book is sort of packed with a lot. The Knave of Diamonds focuses on the Irish crown jewels having been stolen from Dublin Castle or some government building in Dublin in 1922. And so it's funny, we get to hear a little bit more about Mary's backstory. One of her characters from her previous life comes in, and it did actually happen. The jewels did actually get stolen. And Laurie R. King has invented a sort of plausible, who was where, when, and who handed off to whom, and why did it go wrong kind of timeline. And the reveals are very funny, and they put themselves in funny situations, and they make fun of each other. And it's just a real, pleasure to read. So I do love Laurie R. King. I have read the books that I have twice. They're the rereads that I will do because you can skim and catch the points that you like. And it's just a great series. So good mysteries for those who love mysteries. Hello, Emma. Emma just popped up a playlist for all the people who have put in a fall curriculum video. So I've got one of those. I will be updating you, I think, in a week and a half on my progress. And Emma has a playlist full of other author tubers who have done similar fall curriculum videos. So check that out if you are curious. Elaine is here listening during lunch. Lovely. Eva is listening as I work in another tab. Lovely. Not killing the earth. Great trait. Right. Exactly. And don't forget, there's a question of the day. If you guys are here live or if you're here on the replay, you can drop it in a comment. What are some of your happy developments this week? I will tell you one of mine and give a little evidence. So I tried last week to get some music that would be mine, that I wouldn't have to listen to ads interrupting me in the middle of, that would absorb my attention and get me into a flow of work and not just, and basically drown out the voice of complaining and doomsday saying, right? So I was trying to get classical music, and I knew I wanted to get Vivaldi, Four Seasons, which I mentioned last week or the week before, I believe. And that one worked out. I got 3 other maybes at the same time, and none of them worked out. I listened to them a couple times and was like, nah, this isn't really doing anything for me. So I brought those back, and I went and got 3 that were choral or quartets. So sort of classical music, a little bit more modern, and voices. And this is the one I've been listening to, St. John's Magnificat, choral works by Herbert Howells. It's a very interesting register. I'm not used to it, but it's by the choir of St. John's College, Cambridge. And I don't even know if it's Cambridge, UK. I would gather so, because it says Colchester, Essex, England for the recording studio. So Cambridge, England. Well, I'm reading a book about Oxford, which is kind of funny. But anyway, so I've been listening to this. It's pretty long CD, and it's kind of like church music, but it's just majestic and drowns out the leaf blowers and just makes me not always feel like I'm hovering over blowing up in my head. So if you have a happy development, like you found a thing, a tool that unlocks something, drop it in the comments. Okay, we're going to continue with our books. Oop, Anita's got an answer. Happy development is my final edits are almost done, and I have the chapter headings for the print book. That's a good milestone. And it's only Wednesday. Nice. Julie says, oh, yes, made it up to Morro Bay for a midweek road trip getaway and had such a great time. Back pain was manageable, and I even drove through slow. Thinking of you, Margaret. Excellent. Excellent. Morro Bay. I bet, judging from the weather up here, I bet Morro Bay was beautiful. Foggy for half the day and then beautiful. So I bet it was nice. Lovely. And then Elaine's answer, I got a ton of free wood from the neighbor. Yep, little stumps for flower bed borders because they're natural and they break down and nourish the soil. Exactly. Well done. You're working a lot in the garden. It's going to definitely pay out in flowers and whatever you've tended to in the garden, which is a lovely thought. All right, so that's 3 books down. My next one is for Victober. So I at this point thought, I'm gonna do a readathon update, and if you didn't see last Friday's live stream, it was a readathon update, sort of the phases of readathons for a booktuber. And when I was writing out that stuff, I was like, oh, I should do a Victober book. And I just picked up one that I thought I might be able to read quickly. And look at the type in this. So yeah, that's pretty quick. That's like a middle grade typeface kerning, whatever it's called. Anyway, it was very short. It's only 39 pages, but it's also like really generous spacing. So yeah, it's Mr. BAZALGETTE'S Agent by Leonard Merrick, British Library Crime Classics. And I picked this up at Powell's a while ago, 2022. Haven't done Victober in a couple years. And yeah, it's an interesting cover. So Mr. BAZALGETTE is not a very important character. The agent is the main character whose perspective we have. It's in first person. She is in dire straits. She's about to get kicked out, but she's definitely planning on how to get kicked out of her boarding house in style and not let anyone know that she has nowhere to go. And she gets this job as a detective, basically, lady detective. And she ends up getting a very cushy daily rate and traipses off to Europe and tries to follow this person who is absconded with some funds. And in order not to give spoilers, I will just say it has a comical, tragical ending, to be Hamlet about it. I mean, the ending is very much of the period. It was a little dissatisfying from modern feminist reader, but fine. It was a good detective story. It was very like unsophisticated. So if you're thinking about Laurie R. King and all the different things, permutations that Sherlock Holmes and Mary Russell are sort of thinking ahead, and the schedules and the possibilities and sort of doing all these calculations, this is someone going, well, I will get to the city and I'll check the hotel register by connivance and see if he's signed in with his real name. And you're like, wow, we're starting at the beginning, aren't we? So yeah, less sophisticated, but still very quick moving, and she's emotionally likable. So you root for the character, and yeah, I'm glad I read it, and I could definitely like pass it on to someone else for a fun, quick read. But I did my Victober book. I don't know whose prompts. I guess I could go through the 10 different prompts that there are and see how many this applies to. That might be good, and then I could put it on the community tab for anyone who's curious. Let's check my notes. The old definition of romance. Yeah. So our new definition of romance is it's a love story. The old definition of romance was, it's fanciful, it's unrealistic, it's majestic, people going off into the sunset, and often happening in nature, those kinds of things. So this is the old definition, the Victober definition, really. There's a definite wry voice to our character narrator, very actiony. And I said, but that ending, exclamation point. Again, like in modern, you kind of roll your eyes, but it's fun. It's a fun read and it's very quick. Okay, the next book is Fog Queen by Anna North. And this is a great read. I got an arc of this. Look at this cover. So it took me a long time to see all the elements of the cover because I looked at all the moss, and I love moss. So that's what I saw first. And then only after I had read the story did I see the other things in the cover. Let's just say that. Let me switch the banner here. So this book by Anna North, Outlawed, is like a Western that came out a few years ago. And I know my friend Mary O'Malley really liked that one. I didn't get to read it. So this is my first time reading Anna North. It has very innovative point of view structure, which is there is a modern timeline in which there is a neurodivergent woman forensic archaeologist, and she's working on a body that's found in a bog. And then there's another timeline, which is I forget which, first century woman who is the druid for her family clan, and there's just like the politics of the Roman invasion coming on and all that. And her life and what's going on there and the challenges. And then the third point of view is the moss itself. And it has this delightfully whimsical moss does not think this or say this or feel this. But if it did, it might say this about this, aspect of the story. It's just kind of fun. So I really liked that. There's let's see, timelines, historical, neurodivergent representation, a well-developed politics in both timelines. So there was a political wrangling in both timelines, which I found really satisfying because a lot of people simplify the past. And if we don't have a lot of traces of this, Celtic druid culture, oh, it must have been simple and they were just dancing in the woods naked. And like, no, they had a very, I'm sure, what's the word I'm looking for? Sophisticated, right? Social structure and rituals and beliefs about magic and religion and the afterlife and all these things. So yeah, I liked that they had hard decisions to be made and tough places to be in for decision makers in both timelines and that they were related. I had tenderness for the characters we were rooting for again, so that's always a plus, even when it's not destined to succeed. And again, I won't give any spoilers. So, yeah, I just really appreciate being sent this book. Bloomsbury is one of the publishers that I really love. I love Chronicle, I love Workman, I love Source Books, and I love Bloomsbury. And not all of them send me books, so I'm glad that this one did. Really good, just came out last Tuesday. So you should definitely check it out. Ask for it at your library, Bog Queen, because bogs are very important. Moss is fabulous, and we should all know more about how they interact with our ecosystems. So that's my little 2 cents on the climate book. Let's see. Elaine says 38 years in the making of that garden. Wow, almost done. Just one strip of grass left. Birds loving the grains and berries. Yeah, you've got a lot of wildlife very happy after the 38 years of work. Well done. Hi, Ven. You already missed the cover by where I doffed my hat to you, so you'll have to go back and find that. Cat Boss says, so nothing has changed as far as the definition then. The romance. I would say that modern readers, if they were confronted with a romance from 1800, they would be very disappointed. I think it's changed quite a bit. It doesn't have to have happy ever after. That's the biggest. Mad, hello, quick hello. Gotta run shortly till we get my car from servicing and then head to the library. Excellent. Well, see if they have a copy of Bog Queen. Just saying, it's an excellent read and new release. And then hi. All right, so let me change my banner. The next book is, did I forget? There was 2 links that I was going to give. Nope, I didn't get there yet. Okay, so ta-da! The next book is Revolt of the Elites by Christopher Lasch. And you may have heard Christopher Lasch's name. You may not have. He's a big political sociology commentator from like the 90s. This is the last book he published before he passed away, I think in 1994. Okay, so this is like 92. So this is an old book, but I picked this up because I was interested in different takes on the late stage capitalism we find ourselves in. And it said the betrayal of democracy. So I thought, this may have some interesting points. And it did. But here's the thing. When I held this up as one of my possible books to read, my friend Devin, fellow author, Devin Gambrill Clark, said, oh my gosh, I still have that book. I wanted to reread it. I read it in college. And I was like, what? So we buddy read it. We didn't discuss it too much, but we had similar like general feelings. And so we're going to be discussing this next Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific time. So if you're curious about Christopher Lasch and the 90s take and how much is still true or has diverged in 30 years, join us for a discussion, buddy read discussion then. I think that's one of the best things about Booktube is buddy reads. There's been a slew of Booktube talking to itself videos lately, and I was explained to Alan. Alan explained to me the Shelf Talkers series with MJ that he does is basically buddy reads. I was like, oh, we do those. Okay, so we do those all the time. I haven't had one in a while, though, so this will be my first discussion in a while. And then Walking with the Wind, I'm currently reading with Tiffany, another author friend, Tiffany Russell. And that is a memoir of John Lewis from around 2000. And he has since passed away. So that's a really well-told book, and I'm excited to talk to her about it. But yeah, so I won't go into the details in this except to say, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that still gels, and there's a lot of things that he just doesn't give evidence for. So we may be picking through and like wanting more data, but yeah, paternalistic. We'll see. We'll see. I'll save it for the discussion. So that was a great experience. And I'm going to link, I just threw up the live, but if you want to bookmark it, I have it up as an unlisted video because I don't have a thumbnail for it yet. And you can put notifications on and then not forget next Monday. So that is Revolt of the Elites. Eva says it's wild that we're in the tail end of October. I know. 9 days. 9 days till the end. And great book summaries reviews thus far. Continues working. Excellent. Margaret, your whole August was buddy reads. I love that part of Booktube. Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. That's true. All right. Yeah, it is a good part because that's the whole point is that we want to talk to other people about books, right? We have this mysterious thing is next. What is this, you say? It is the beautiful Etsy made cover for the iPad that I use for ebooks. This is a hand-me-down from my mom, and it works just fine without having to get any Amazon paraphernalia. It's a little slow sometimes, not because there's too much on it, just because I think it's old and cranky, which it has a right to be. And so most of mine are on Kobo rather than Kindle, but there are a few who are exclusively on Kindle. So I have to go to the demon app for those. But let's see if it comes up. It's just the text. Let's see if we can get the cover on here. Bing, you may have heard of this one before. Do table of contents. Overview. Let me go to the cover. Nope. Let's see. It's not going to let me go to the cover. Boo. All right, well, there's a tiny, tiny version of the cover for Interview with a Van Lifer. So this is hopefully a fun little pun for those of you who are reading the Anne Rice series right now. It is about vampires. It's a novella that MK did because she had the idea of van lifers acting in a subset of humanity, a subset of our culture, in a different way, in the same way that vampires might. So anyway, she uses the perspective of a journalist to go in and interview this hot social media couple that are vampires. So they were van lifers. They went to the Mariposa Grove. There was a very old vampire there. They got turned and they had a very hard year of adjusting with not much help, and then figured out that they would continue being van lifers and camping and just do all their stuff at night, and arrange for, the blood requirements and everything in a way that is eco-friendly. And what's interesting is that MK brings up a lot of climate considerations when the journalist is able to interview the vampires. Um, and, you know, they may have a much lighter footprint on the earth than many of us do, which is ironic, tragic. It's lightly humorous, gently probing, and just like interesting to think about, and has some great setting. Location is Yosemite, so like there's some shout outs to California, which is fun for me. But yeah, I had a very easy time. It's a very quick novella, and the style is very straightforward, and it's just like a fun vampire themed climate fiction. So if you want to dip your toe in and learn about van life as well as vampire complications with the climate crisis, check out Interview with a Van Lifer by our very own author tuber friend MK Williams. And I just interviewed MK on my channel about the Truth and Reconciliation for the Climate. So we had a great old discussion, and both this book and her bigger like tome called Heifer about climate, which is not as happy, which is much more dark, and we're talked about. So we talk about climate stuff as well as some of her works and like how she came to the issue, which is really cool. So glad to have MK on, and hope people will check that out. I'm just saying old and cranky in general. I'm not saying any assignations here. Oh, Elaine says 9 days until the new year. Woohoo. Still boggles my brain growing up. Don't use hydro, turn off the lights, now buy those electric cars and ramp up your hydro bill. You are in a very particular situation, which I don't think applies to much of the population, because I think Canada's energy mix is very different from America's, especially regionally. So yeah, you can't really generalize in that way. What else did we have? Mom's comment. Yeah, vampires. We are about to start the Vampire Armand, which is book 6 in the series. Very cool. You guys are plugging along there. That's great. All right, so I've got 2 more books. One of them is a travel book. So we've got, and they look kind of similar, right? The red and the white. Apparently this is a thing in the 2000s. This is On Foot Through Clydesdale by Ian C. Lees. I picked this up at Daunt, which is why I had the Daunt bookmark in here, but it's not there anymore. This is from 1932. But like I said, I picked it up on my last couple trips, I think 2 trips ago. And Clydesdale, as you may know, is a region in Scotland. The River Clyde goes through Glasgow and also Lanarkshire. Lanark is the area between Glasgow and Edinburgh, for those who know in general the 2 big cities in Scotland. And it's not very well traversed nowadays. I think there's definitely, cities, towns, development in the area. But in 1932, it was even less well traversed. And so Ian Lees, which is a pseudonym, takes us on a tour of his favorite historical stories. Some of them reach back to the 13th century. Some of them reach back to the early Jacobite rising. So they sort of dovetail with Susanna Kearsley's anecdotes. A lot of them have to do, because of the region, with the Covenanting conventicles, which are people who were resisting religious persecution and hiding their religious faith and going into the fields to worship in groups. Because the royal decree was other than their consciences. So that phenomenon was very prevalent in this area at a certain time. I think it was around 1700, but British people on the broadcast, feel free to correct me. Like I said, I'm more of a 19th century writer and researcher, so when it gets back into 1700, I lose the the string, the thread a little bit. But it was delightful. It's just very calm. The chapters are short. He talks about this person who used to live here, that castle, what used to be there, this happened here. The owners of this pub boast that this person stayed here and the bag in the head was by this very chimney. It's just like a very fireside tales kind of thing. And it was lovely to retreat into if you're looking for sort of calm comfort reading that doesn't have anything to do with the world today. So as you can see, the reading varied wildly through all these things, but I'm glad I picked it up. I don't know if I'd use it as reference. It's much more storytellish. I don't think it's referenced for like the historical timeline, but as I said, very nice, easy reading to go through. And old book, right? It's a classic. It's a modern book. And then my final book, I snuck this in. I think I put it on the thumbnail. Miss Pym Disposes by Josephine Tay. Josephine Tay is also a pen name for a Scottish writer for the first half of the 20th century. She died in 1952. I have read a couple of her other books that I really enjoyed, The Singing Sands and the one about Richard III. Anyway, so she writes about mostly contemporary for her. So 1930s, 1940s. She was a very successful mystery writer, sort of like a pulp detection writer in some lights. This is the only one I think that Miss Pym appears in. So this is not part of a series, but Miss Pym is someone who used to be a fourth form. I don't know what grade their age that is. French teacher. That's what she was brought up to do, and got a modest inheritance. Figured she'd stop teaching French and do what she liked for a little bit. So she got into psychology. She read loads of books in psychology, like 25, and then thought about how they all disagreed with each other, had thoughts about that, and wrote her own book and became a bestseller. So obviously, a long time ago, this is not the sort of thing that could happen today, but that is the backstory for a Miss Pym. She's a psychological, like, face reader. She's really good at those things. And she goes to visit an old school chum in a girls' school where they're teaching PE, like physical therapy, gymnastics. I'm not really sure. This isn't a thing that exists today, I don't think. And it's a very slow rolling mystery. So if you like high impact, like running around the corner with a gun in your hand mysteries, this is not the one for you. But if you like cozy, but not smarmy, like she goes into the girls' school, she's debating with herself whether she wants to stay. She's got her own peculiarities about things that are very relatable to me. So the quote on the front from the New Yorker says, Tay's style and her knack for creating bizarre characters are among the best in the field. And I have a bone to pick with that because I didn't think she was a bizarre character. I thought she was very relatable. So, New Yorker. Yeah. Does she stay? Does she go? Does she owe it to her school chum? Does she just want to be relieved of the social responsibilities and go back? So anyway, she ends up staying, and then the sort of mystery unfolds. And my notes say, yeah, the déroulement, the unfolding of the action, if you will, is slow, amusing, then a mystery, then a tragic twist. So it's really good how she reveals. As with many of the classics, someone suggested, it might have been Greg, that the classics, you shouldn't read the introduction. They assume that you've read it before. And so you read the book and then you go back and read the introduction, which is what I did. And that worked out because they did spoil stuff in the introduction. And I got to read it and reflect on it after I knew what had happened and not get spoiled, which is good. But really great read. Again, like comforting and out of the flow of current politics, but still human and relatable and amusing. So really good, really good. It's a good haul this month, this wrap up, this walloping wrap up. Eva says our city water isn't drinkable. Breaking news for our area. Super fun times buying water. Oh, uh-oh. That's not good. That's not good. Well, paying for water, buying water and paying for water. Yeah, that's just wrong. That's just wrong. That's as wrong as federal employees having to work and not get paid or back pay. Like, yeah. I don't know what mom was laughing at, but I'll take credit for that. Oh, yes. Thank you, Greg. The Daughter of Time is the Richard III book. Thank you. Thank you. It's a very well framed, again, neat perspective. So the mystery in this happens in the girls' school where they're, 17, 18, and they're going to take their finals and graduate and get jobs. And so there's lots of tension and stress going on, but also lots of personable young women. And instead of unrolling the action with like one of the girls being the narrator, it's this outsider who gets to observe. And sometimes she's right, mostly she's right, and a few times she's wrong, making assumptions. So it's delicious. So The Daughter of Time is similar in that you have a well-framed device to set up like a thought experiment, and then you like investigate. That one jumps into the action because the mystery already happened in the history, but this one is like a slow build up to the mystery part. Elaine says varied reading is good. Variety is the spice of life. Exactly. Eva says it's not a fast fix either. The whole house filter is a long-term fix, meaning like you need to dig up something and put it in your pipes. Yeah, we're going to get a pitcher, more our price point. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's something you could put on your faucet, which is like the next level maybe. But yeah, the pitcher is the first level. Ugh. Oh, okay. So I told you about Devin and my discussion next Monday. I told you about MK and my discussion last Wednesday. And so it only remains to say two things. Start planning 2026 with me. That was a readathon thing. I'm going to leave that alone. I did finish How to Do Nothing, my readathon. So if you saw this throughout my wrap-ups and were like, why does she keep talking about this book? It's because we were doing a slow readathon of How to Do Nothing by Jenny Odell. And Grace at Books and Cooks was leading it, and she just finished and she put out her final video. And I think she erased all the videos on her channel because that is part of her resisting the attention economy, which fair enough. So I watched hers after reading chapter 6, and then I read the conclusion, which was like the last chapter. And here are my notes. Let's see. Different people in different contexts versus flattering consistency of online life. Ooh, okay. So here's a really interesting posit of the author. The identities that you're able to mold depending on which audience you have collapse when you have an online life because you can't control who accesses your content, right? So Zuckerberg said something about it's the end of whatever, your ability to be different people to different audiences is collapsing. And that's a loss because being flexible with your personality is part of, I think, being in relationship with others, right? So you can recognize, oh, this friend needs more accountability. This friend needs a listening ear, right? And so you sort of mold your own temperament to this situation and the climate, and you can't really do that on the online platforms, which I thought was interesting. I've heard other people talk about this before, but I like how she was sort of refuting it and saying we need the former. It related to my conversation with Marcy at the end of Agitation August, because one of the things in the book we read together to discuss was that there's an in-group benefit to meeting and a larger, wider group benefit to meeting, and you need them both. You can't just always be with your own people. Sorry, the screen's bugging me there. Or always be with the wider group. You won't organize effectively that way. Just like people who are organizing only on social media, if you put all the details out publicly, then they're vulnerable to not capture, but spoiling. Like if you have a meeting, someone can show up and be disruptive, or if you have a demonstration, someone can show up and be counter protesters, etc. So yeah, you need a process. Yep. Zuck versus intersectionality. He's going to lose. Context collapse. That was another really interesting idea. And I think this helped me turn the corner on like my doom scrolling. So context collapse is a phrase to describe if you have a comment and you don't know where it came from. So you can't analyze its truth or importance or significance to anybody, right? The flip side of that is that's like place. You don't have a place. You don't have context of place. The flip side of that is also you don't have the context of time. Is this immediate? Is this 10 years ago? Is this a long, long time ago? And our social media lives tend to keep us in a state of permanent instantaneity, if that makes sense. So when you read your feed, everything, even if it's from different times, from different headlines, from people's different experiences across your followings, to you, the feed looks like everything is happening now. And so your brain is interpreting that as everything is permanently instantaneous. And it feels like psychologically we're constantly trying to deal with a new thing, even though the algorithm could be serving you something from 3 weeks ago. So recognizing that our brains are doing something because they're expecting reality where social media isn't reality. So you really need to like stop, consider what your brain needs right now. Maybe it needs a break. So context collapse, I thought permanent instantaneity was really a good marker. She's talking about, flood the zone. That's what that is about, so that we can't wade through all the new information. It threatens visibility. It also threatens comprehension. So if you follow me with this, the fact that you're always bringing in new information without context threatens the visibility of any one piece of information because it's just like a flood. It's just like a sea of information around you. It also threatens comprehension because you can't stop and analyze one thing. It's just all washing over you and you never get time to contemplate and analyze. So that was important work to do yourself. Seek and understand the context. It's a collective survival skill. Yeah, let's see. I'll read a quote. So we're going to finish strong with this readathon here. Let's see. I worry about what this means long-term for our propensity to seek out context or our ability to understand context at all. Given that all the issues that face us demand an understanding of complexity, interrelationship, and nuance, the ability to seek and understand context is nothing less than a collective survival skill. Looking both to the troubling present and to successful actions in the past suggests that we will require new kinds of alliances and formations, which will further require periods both of solitude and of intense connection and communication. So like in-group and the wider group. But how can we do that when our platforms for connection and expression detract from the attention to place and time that we need, simultaneously eroding the context that would allow new strategies to sharpen and flourish? So she's like, this is why social media and the attention economy is making you less able to do the thing that it makes it more necessary to do. It's like, whoa. Blowing my mind there. That was a really good one. Let's see. She talks about the space of appearance for interactions. Yeah, that's a little less easy to parse here at the end of a video. True conviviality. I put that one in quotes. So let's give 2 more quotes here. Page 179. Oh, here we go. Here's practicing new worlds. Here's emergent strategies melding with this book. When I try to imagine a sane social network, It is a space of appearance, meaning you have to appear. A hybrid of mediated and in-person encounters. So mediated, meaning mediated by technology, and in-person encounters of hours-long walks with a friend, of phone conversations, of closed group chats, of town halls. It would allow true conviviality, the dinners and gatherings and celebrations that give us the emotional sustenance we need, and where we show up for each other in person and say, I am here fighting for this with you. It would make use of non-corporate, decentralized networking technology, not AWS, both to include those for whom in-person interaction is difficult, introverts, disabled community perhaps, and to create nodes of support in different cities when staying in one place is increasingly an economic privilege. So yeah, so she's got her eye on all these different populations' needs, and I thought that was a really great way of summing that up. We need to envision the network we want, network of the future. Let's see, page 183, my responsibility, and that'll be our last quote. Okay, so this is like her reflecting in the conclusion. But I also realized for the first time that my wish to preserve this place was also a self-preservation instinct, insofar as I needed spaces like this too, and insofar as I couldn't feel truly at home in a solely human community. So she's relating environmental activism back to not selfishness, but self-preservation. So it's not all bleeding heart people who are trying to save some frog species no one's ever heard of or knows what they're going to be good for. It's someone who is connecting the dots to say, no, we need to save these spaces, these ecosystem services, if you want to get clinical sounding, because I need this space. We all need this space to think and relax and connect and be with other creatures. So I just thought that was really a great sum up, and how it's not just responsibility for something like you screwed this thing over, you need to clean it up now. This is all of our responsibilities to enjoy. So we need to take care of it, which puts it in a more positive light. So this slow rereadathon that Grace organized really helped me see more from this book. Like, I read it the first time and I really thought about like some interesting points, but it seemed more disparate, and rereading it slowly over 8 months or however long it was, made me connect it more with other books, made me connect it more with like deeper thoughts about activism. And so yeah, I just really appreciate Grace for convening that thoughtful discussion. And I think there were a few other people that might have chimed in at once, one or another time, but I think it was mainly me, and I hope that was enough for her to make it feel like it was worth it, because I really enjoyed that. All right, so let me put that down, see if we have any more answers. I'm going to say upcoming events. Oh, I'm going to do this so that I can roll us out here. Anyone got any upcoming events? Like I said, this Friday. Oh, what am I doing this Friday? It's on a piece of paper. It's on several pieces of paper, but it's over there. Normal Friday stream is 10 a.m. So 10 a.m. Pacific. We'll see you there for something. Next Monday is my chat with Devin. Next, well, I don't know. I'm just going to stay quiet on that front and let you guys roll out events, because I didn't bring this. I have my reading notes. I do not have my schedule notes here to hand. But yeah, tell me about your upcoming events. Diversify your reading shelves. Oh, this weekend. Yeah, it's Storyteller's Hearth. So if people are doing writing sprints or reading sprints, that's a good one to highlight. Eva says, I'm sticking with plans even while missing deadlines, which is a happy development. That's a great answer. Yep. Time for Aliens this month on a roll, finishing reads. Excellent. Eva says YouTube has the second best search engine, second to Google, which owns YouTube. Good choice if there can only be one. Yeah. Oh, I missed a little bit of a discussion here then. So Alan said fourth form is 14 to 15-year-olds. Okay, so teaching French to 14 to 15-year-olds. That puts it in a little bit more perspective. I just sort of like vaguely skipped over that and said, whatever. Yeah. Eva says this came up early. Someone said something along the lines of having more than one social media as being two people. And I compared it to not gaming at work, where one channel is gaming, the other is work. Yeah. Not the same thing, but like, yeah, I get it. And then Elaine said the do nothing but read should be slow. Wouldn't make sense to read it fast. Exactly. Attention, absorption. The algorithm aim is to keep you on the platform you're on. It has zero concern for your well-being. Righto. So true. Only YouTube. Eva says YouTube has the second best search engine. Okay, so it's a good choice if there can only be one. There we go. Now it makes more sense in context. See how that worked? See how that worked? Excellent. All right, so any upcoming events? Anybody? And then I have a bunch of current reads right now. I have dipped into 4 this morning. I'm reading the book on Oxford, which is funny because I'm listening to music from Cambridge. I'm reading about climate anxiety, which is really good. I'm reading Emergent Strategy, Practicing New Worlds, which is part of a series about activism. A little slow, a little dense, but good for my fall curriculum, getting me thinking. And what's the 4th one over there? It's yellow and yellow. Oh, a cookbook. So my other happy development are these walks. And yesterday I went on a walk to what would I describe it as? Visually rich. It's this place called Cargo that is a big sort of artist vendor. Some of it's vintage, some of it's original art and craft. And when you go in there, there's just so many things to look at and read and like appreciate that I walked down there, which is 2.7 miles. Said 2.1. My Google Maps, my phone was not working very well, so I had to restart it. But the whole walk, it wasn't working. So it told me 2.1 and I was fooled. But that's fine. I took a little break and then came back. But I got a book that was called French Cooking for One. And it's just like a nice little, there's some personal tidbits. There's like just like easy methods. It's just like a thin little book. So yeah, I was reading that this morning. New book. Why not just add it onto the pile, right? So that is my current read. I'm very happy with it. Currently happy with the music, happy with the walks, happy with the weather. The only thing that's not making me happy right now are the leaf blowers. So if that state law could just hurry up and go into effect, I'd be very happy. Oh, Greg says there's a Cambridge, Idaho. Well, there's probably a Cambridge in every state, I imagine. Eva says, I'm going to trunk or treats, cleaning my house, trying to throw a poetry book together. Yep. Editing videos while I create content like a weirdo. Love hanging out, so I do that too. Excellent. No current reads or upcoming events for moi. Well, that's good too. That means that you have room for your trunk or treats, etc. Catpaw says current reads October day 5 or 6. I think that must be a series. And Luminous Darkness by Eden Tull. Very nice. That sounds like a good like spooky October book. Excellent. Well, thank you all for being here to wrap up my 9.5-ish books, to wrap up a whole readathon, which was lovely, and to appreciate some happy developments this fall. So happy reading. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy October, fall, evening, wherever you are in the seasonal calendar, and I will talk to you again soon. See, Cambridge, Nova Scotia. You can't escape them. Bye, everyone.